They say old houses have character, but some carry far more than just charm and history. When Emma bought the old Victorian house on the edge of town, she thought she had found the perfect place for a fresh start. A quiet neighbourhood, beautiful architecture, and just enough space to call her own. There were pigeons everywhere, but every house has its secrets. And this one hid something no one dared to speak of. A room that was never meant to be found. This is the story of Emma's discovery of that room, and the terrifying truth that came with it. Emma's first week in the house was uneventful. She spent her days unpacking, rearranging furniture, and admiring the intricate details of the house. The crown moulding, the antique doorknobs, and the beautiful stained glass windows. But as she moved her boxes upstairs to the second floor, she noticed something peculiar. The wallpaper on one section of the hallway looked newer than the rest. It was slightly off colour, and the edges didn't line up perfectly with the adjacent wall. Her curiosity piqued, Emma ran her hand over the area. It felt hollow. "Mr. Lee," she said, smiling and trying to be polite. Could there be a hidden space behind this wall, she thought. The idea excited her. She grabbed a small utility knife and carefully peeled back the wallpaper. Beneath it, she found an old, faded door with a rusted keyhole. The door was different from the others in the house. Smaller, almost childlike in design, and heavily worn. Emma spent hours searching the house for the key. Finally, in the attic, she found an old tarnished key sitting in a dusty box labelled miscellaneous. Her heart raced as she inserted it into the lock. With a soft click, the door creaked open. Inside was a tiny windowless room. The air was stale, cold, and heavy, carrying the scent of mildew and something metallic. The walls were covered in faded crayon-like drawings. They looked like they had been made by a child, but the images were unsettling. Twisted figures with hollow eyes, faces smeared with scratches, and something that resembled dark shadows looming behind them. In the middle of the room was a wooden chair, and on it sat a stuffed rabbit, worn and dusty. Its button eyes were uneven, one hanging by a thread. The room felt wrong. Emma picked up the rabbit, examining it. As she held it, she heard a faint sound, almost like a whisper. She froze, holding her breath to listen. "Let me out." The words were barely audible, but they sent a chill down her spine. Emma dropped the rabbit and backed out of the room, slamming the door shut. She tried to brush off the experience, convincing herself it was just her imagination. But deep down, she knew something wasn't right. "Emma!" shouted the jackal. "By all the forces of hell, jackal, now speak to us. You scarce know what I know." "How dare you think you're so special?" That night, Emma struggled to sleep. Every creak of the old house made her jump, but it was the whispering that truly unsettled her. It started faint, like before, but gradually grew louder. "Let me out, let me out." She covered her ears, trying to block it out, but the voice seemed to come from within the walls. Then she heard something worse. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed in the hallway outside her bedroom. She stared at the door, her heart pounding. The footsteps stopped, but then the doorknob began to turn, creaking as it twisted. Emma wanted to scream, but fear froze her in place. The door slowly swung open, but there was no one there. the pot liquor the next morning, Emma decided she couldn't stay in the house any longer. She packed a small bag, intending to leave everything else behind, and as she stepped into the kitchen, she froze. The rabbit was sitting on the counter. Its button eye, which had been hanging by a thread, was now completely gone. Only Emma ran out of the house, abandoning it entirely. She never went back. Weeks later, a new family moved in. They, too, noticed the strange section of wallpaper in the hallway. They, too, uncovered the hidden door, and, like Emma, they opened it. The house continues to whisper, its secrets waiting to be found. The room behind the door may be small, but its darkness is infinite. Some doors should never be opened. Some secrets are meant to remain buried. And some places, no matter how charming they appear, are cursed to carry the weight of their horrors forever. If you ever find a hidden door in your home, remember this story. Think twice before unlocking it, because once you do, there's no telling what you might unleash, or if it will ever let you go.